Anu from B.A English.
Second year. I'm here to tell a story. Let's begin to the story. Dreams from My Father. A story of race and inheritance in 1995 is a memoir by Barack Obama that explores the event of his early lives in Honolulu and Chicago until his entry into Harvard Law School in 1988. Author Barack Obama. Subject Early Life of Barack Obama. Genre Memoir. Publisher Time Books 1995. Three Rivers Press 2002. Let's analyze the story. By beginning his narrative with his father's death and his own desolate life as a young man in New York, Barak does two things first. He makes it clear that this is a story about his father as much as it's a story about him. Then he also encouraged the reader to compare his solidity, young Othello, to the picture he paints of his childhood, which seems to be one surrounded by loving family members. Mentioning this particular story about his father, meanwhile also suited his father as someone truly large than life who didn't play by normal rules and possibly not someone whose life Barak can ever live up to. Here, Harax begins to draw out how people's interpretation by stories change over time. As a child, Anna's story, Barak's father, are more than enough because they tell Barak about who he is, and they tell him his father is a noble, intelligent individual. But as Barak gets older and becomes more interested in what makes a family, he begins to ask more questions about this story. Essentially, as he gets older, he sees that Anne leaves important information out, like why his father left at all. To others, at least, race is an issue, and possibly Barak will have to trickle issues of race himself as he gets older. This story also forced Barak to realize that his father defines all templates at rationalizations. He was truly an individual. Thought to and cramps try to make the case that they are not at all racist simply because they came from Kansas and have Native American ancestors. It's important to keep in mind that they are still subjects to the cultural currents guiding life is America to this time. Barak also begins cramps make the Depression's era sounds more romantic through the languages they use to describe it. He paints a picture of grandparents as stuck lovers falling in love despite all odds. A story that may be complaining but which ignores the economic difficulties of the era. This is the part of the story. Barak finally makes it clear that as liberal as his grandfathers were, they still live in a fundamental racist society. Hence, the questions whatever they let their daughter marry a black man, the fact that is a question at all the point people who might otherwise be supporting of black people's right. During 1960s, Barak also paints Grams as a person trying every hard to figure out his own identity, figuring out personal identity in also Barak's projects throughout the memoir. This movement, Cramps and Toad do prove themselves to be very progressive, especially in comparison with the racist employees and the principals in the seasons. Camps and Toad aren't necessarily wrong in their characterizations of stories to young Barak. It's essential to Barak develop the cramps to present themselves in this way They want to make sure Barak feels supported, and as true he never has questions they are supported because the color of his skin. In this moment, Barak makes it explicit that story didn't simply relay factual informations. Crumbs embellishly stories to make sure that it seems as though he is on the right side of history. And while truth doesn't entirely refute the gist of what Karam says, she does make it educated in the language of ragism. Then, as they later become, especially after gaining a black son-in-law and a burial grandson, and indeed through Cram seems to see his jokes on tourists as a way to call out tourist racism. They are still not respectful Hawaiian culture. With this Barak, make sure the reader gaps and that story are so much about the person telling the stories as they are about the story content. He encouraging readings to pay attention in the future to who to really know about the truth they claim to convey. By ending the chapter with the note that he too young at this point to understand race or what his father should be. He sets the stage for later growth. Let's see what is the themes of this story, Dreams from My Fathers. Theme number 1, Family and Community. In this memoir, Barack Obama recounts his upbringing in Hawaii, his college years, his stint as a community organizer in Chicago, and finally his first visit to Kenya in the month before he began studying law at Harvard. Born to a white American mother and a black Kenyan father, who was mostly absent from Barak's life. Barak's story circled back again and again to what it means to be part of a family. Theme 2, Father, Son, and Manhood. True, Barack Obama is interested in what it means to be part of a family more broadly. The memoir focuses especially on the relationship between father and son. Barack meets his father, whom he calls the old man, only once when he is 10 years old, and his father dies when Barak is 21 due to his father's absence from his life and the far-fetched stories of his fathers that he grew up with. Barak spends his Theme 3, Race and Identity. During Barak's younger years, life is simple and his identity is nothing to fret over. His mother Anne loves him, his grandparents love him, and his father, though absent, is someone to look up to. However, one fateful day when his 9 years old Barak opens up a nice magazine to a piece about black people who used skin lightening creams with diagnostic effects, complete with photographs. This marks the moment. Theme number 4, Storytelling and Truth. Since Barack Obama's father leaves him and his mother Anne, when Barak is only 2 years old, Barak grows up with stories and the occasional letter, not the man himself, and a letter. His Barak contends with his father flung half siblings. They bond through telling stories primarily about their late father, who they refer to as the old man. With this, the memoir situation storytelling as one of its central concerns. Ultimately, it suggests that. Let me tell about the quotes from these Dreams from My Father's story. According to her, racism wasn't even in their vocabulary back then. Your grandfather and I just figured we should treat people decently, Bar. That's all. She is wise that way. My grandmother, suspicious of overworth sentiments or overblown claims, content with common sense, which is why I tend to trust her account of events. It corresponds to what I know about my grandfather. His tendency to rewrite his story to conform with the image he wished for himself. Symbol of the story: Dreams from my fathers. The Life's Photography. At 9 years old, Barack Obama sees a photograph in Life magazine of a black man who used skin lightening cream, an image that promotes Barack's realizations that dragism is lurking everywhere, the photograph and accompanying. This is my story reviewing. Thank you.